Rakesh Sukesh started his contemporary dance journey in 2003 with Attakkalarri in Bangalore. Since 2009, Rakesh has been working on developing a contemporary movement method called Payatt INtransit, using Kalaripayattu, which is an Indian martial art form, and contemporary movement techniques, yoga, and energy work. He has been invited to teach Payatt INtransit at various festivals and for companies such as Sidi Larbi's company, Ultima Vez, Impuls Tanz Vienna, Deltebre Danza Spain. He travels around the world working with dance companies and festivals. He also works as a freelance performer and choreographer, collaborating with various artists from different genres. In 2014, he was a certified yoga teacher from Shivananda School of Yoga. He currently lives and works by dividing his time between Europe and Asia. Sanskar India is the brainchild of Rakesh and Narendra, as a way to bring world-class dance education to India, Southeast Asia, and integrate into the international dance community. How are you? And how are you in these COVID-19 times? How's your movement practice going on in these times?
Honestly speaking, considering the fact it is such a big turning moment for humanity, and a lot of people's life is changing, and it's a surprise that we were not expecting. But personally, for me, it has been in a way good for my own personal development, because lately, because of my work, I've been always on the road a lot, and so when I get often invited to go to different countries to work with organizations, companies. So 80%, 90%, most of the time on the road. Yeah. So when you're jumping around like this, you get very less time to be with yourself, and also to kind of take time to process what's happening, and to also do, like you said, like to train yourself, to research yourself, to go further. So that it's quite of a hard job when you are constantly moving, because when you stop, then you want to rest. So now the fact that I had this 2 months, at least now here. So yeah, I'm really taking this moment to kind of like stop a bit and really process until now what has happening with me as an artist, and try to also keep this time to be more creative, learning, and keeping myself trained. So actually, in a way, it's good.
That's quite nice. Yeah, I think it's really brought us to start spending time with ourselves as people, and if we're artists, it's. A lot of people are unable to also work on it, but at the same time, it's quite something. It gives you time to do that.
No, I think it's for me. It's about self-reflection. Somehow, whether we asked or not, it just, the universe just put us in this place. Okay, now you're inside. Think about it. Things are moving for everybody, So some people are dealing in a certain way, and some people it's very hard for them. But I guess it is at the same time very necessary, almost. Or even for the nature, it's necessary,
Yes.
Just for too much.
As you say, things are moving. I'm always thinking about how it's always movement, right? Everything is movement. Our bodies, the space, everything. And why do you think humans feel the need to move? I mean, it's very natural, of course, but why do you want to move? What is it why do you want to move?
Well, I would not consider myself that the human is separate from nature, So somehow the fact, if you look at the evolution of us, there is a natural change the way the world is worked. It's we think it's a man-made ideology, that we are traveling across the globe now very easy, and there's so much movement happening. But I also always think that it's nature that is living through us. And so in that case, it is part of the evolution, I would say. It's part of self-growth, I would say. Somehow the way you are, at least for me, coming from the little village, southern India, to where I am now, and happen to travel and meet amazing people around the world, it only helped me to realize more about what is actually being a human. So when you're confined in a little space, and that space has certain psychology, right? The space has certain way of thinking, behaving, being, and it is fine when you're there. You believe in it. Your father believed, your mother believed in it. You believe in it. Your grandchildren will believe in it. But in all the ways, our life is gone global now. Whether we see it or not, it's global. Even the clothes that I'm wearing, it's made somewhere across the planet, or the fruits that I eat, it's made somewhere across the planet. So our interaction, whether we see it or not, it is global. So everything is opening up. So this idea of movement, I feel, yes, in a bigger context, it is not really, let's say, healthy for the nature, because we just travel and pollute the air and stuff. But at the same time, this movement is kind of a seeking, in a way, understanding more. Okay, when I come out of this bubble to another bubble, you see things a bit different. And also you kind of self-reflect what was your bubble before and what is the new bubble now. So you kind of, after a while, at least from my point of view, you start filtering things. You start saying like something makes sense, something does not. Then I guess you choose, in a way, the best side of all the space, in a way. For me, I think movement has been a great learning curve for me.
And what's been your journey with movement? I mean, I've read that you started with being a Bollywood dancer, and then I feel like maybe you had a very deep journey going towards, you've constantly been in a search of what your body is all about, what your movement is all about, and like you said, what it is to be human. So can you share a little bit about that? What is
I mean, like? Yes. I started Bollywood when I was a teenager, and it's fun to do it when you're a teenager.
Of course, yeah.
It's something, especially when 20 years ago, it was, yes, 20 years ago, doing it commercially, it was not so common also. It's only like pocket full of people was doing. But now it's like in YouTube, everybody can learn Bollywood choreography. So it's much more available. At that time, it was, I must say, it was a little more special, because you have to go to a training center to learn it. So during the time, it was fun, and I was not thinking, okay, I want to become a professional movement artist. None. I just did it for fun. And also, my dad, I mean, I kind of grew up in a certain circumstances. My personality was a little more, introvert. I was much more shy, and so because of that, I guess he encouraged me to go out to do movement, so do something that is fun, like a hobby. And it does change me as a person. I've become much more confident, and I could reach out to people, and I could put myself out there.
Yeah.
And it was there for a while. And when I entered into Bollywood industry, for me, I realized that I really love Bollywood dance at that moment. But then I realized the Bollywood industry, however, it is such a hierarchical space. You have these main guys, the heroes or the directors and producers, and then it's really a big pyramid. And then people who is doing dancing, who comes in and out, the way they kind of treat you as a human being, it's like, I love what I do, and you treat me for that, this way. So I kind of first like put off a little bit, and at the same time, after a while doing Bollywood, yes, you are there out there, whether you have good day, bad day, you put a smile on face and you dance. And sometimes I feel it was a bit dishonest. And then I was kind of really searching for a place where I can explore myself with much more honesty, like really exploring my body with the state I am in. So then I came across with this company in Bangalore, and it's the first contemporary big company that established in Bangalore. It's called Attakkalarri. And there I first time got introduced to contemporary dance, and that time I had no idea what this contemporary dance means. And I only saw this weird picture on the magazine where a man and woman doing something really weird shape in space. And I didn't get it, but it was kind of like, okay, let me throw myself out there and try what happens. So you go there, it kind of opens your perspective a bit more. And then there we were also training in like Indian traditional forms. Like we had very strong training in martial art from India. It's called Kalaripayattu. And then we had very brief introduction towards classical forms also. And then I was doing yoga by myself for a long time during that moment. And also my family kind of comes from a yogic philosophy and stuff. So yeah, it's just spending time there, realizing that, okay, this is a form that, first of all, does not really have a border. And it's about you choosing what you want to do in it. And which I realized, wow, this is something I can really identify myself with. And so that was kind of the beginning of my journey. And then after several years, in 2009, I wanted to kind of grow further, study further. And then I was looking out for, course and people that I can go and study under. Then I came and met a teacher in Amsterdam, and she was doing something completely opposite to what I was training in that company. She was doing more on improvisation and how to improvise spontaneously to make a piece and stuff like that. So it was really challenging me and also training me to be really in the moment, because that concept is about really being in the moment and trying to really, present as you're spontaneously making a show. Like there's no plan, you go and make a show.
Yeah.
So I like this kind of challenge, and because when you're doing, I also do a choreographic work, but in choreographic work, somehow physical system you kind of design, it's ready.
Yeah.
Then of course you go with the intention, and you portray the intention. The physicality is already coded, and so the way you are, your mental state or your psychological space is different than when you're in a instant composition space where you're actually, it's almost like trying to survive in a while. You have to be on. You have to to make a right choice, to make a performance that looks interesting, because you're taking a risk of also this performance can go down the hill because you don't know what you're going to do. So I like this kind of challenge. And then later, somebody in Europe asked me to give a class. So I gave a basic Kalaripayattu class, which I trained from my teacher. And at that time, people here, they found it very interesting, this form. They were not so familiar with it. And then I was still in the search of like, I would like to work for some choreographers and stuff like that. And during that time, having to have a third world passport is really hits many walls. I mean, I would get selected for a job, and then they would say after 1 month, like, okay, we cannot give you a job because you have an Indian passport, so we cannot pay. We have to pay extra to the government. It's a lot of work, so I was losing lots of money.
Understand.
And then, however, somehow people start to ask me to teach more, and then I was like, I was doing it for a while, and I was not really in it. But then at one point I made a choice. Maybe I should just listen to the sign. Like maybe I should just invest on teaching. And at the same time, what I was teaching is something that I learned from my teachers, which is great. But I still feel that I am not master in it because I did not spend 30 years studying it, I spent before that 6 years. Now I've been doing for almost 11 years. Still, I feel I'm not mastered at it. So I had to find my own kind of a technique, a contemporary technique out of it. And then I was kind of questioning the fact that I was out of India. And so a lot of questions came at me asking about my culture. What does it mean? What does yoga means? Why you have all these gods? Why the culture is like that? So when people were asking me these questions, then I started to think about my own culture, what it has been about. And then, so when I really go deep in it, it was just about human enhancement. It's about how to become, let's say, an evolved human being ultimately. So for me, it really clicked a lot. And so then I start to kind of bring in things that interest me, and it is all about
human
understanding and how I can use my body as a tool, an instrument with which I can have an inner experience. So when I'm here drinking a coffee or when I'm touching somebody, there's an inner experience when I do that. So my body becomes a tool for it. You there? Your image is a little stuck.
Yeah, it got a bit frozen for a moment.
So for me, so for me, after a while, I start to take out this bracket of dance out, I was start to call it more movement. So it's about movement. It's my body, it moves. So it can move different ways. It can follow rhythm. It can also go against rhythm. It can just run. So it is doing all these things. And then, so it is a tool. Yeah. So then it becomes, for me right now with my research where it is now, it's just an instrument with which I'm triggering experiences through it. And also, I'm also expressing my inner experience through it. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So it's kind of, that's a kind of arc right now. And now I'm interested in like neuroscience and what they talk about brain and how our brain develops and the way of thinking and wiring and neuroplasticity and these things they spoke in this thousands of years ago, but in a different way. Intention and repeating certain thoughts and the idea of mantras or rituals and chants, all that. By saying, by doing it, you can alter yourself. So for me, these studies in the past and studies now kind of excites me a lot. So I'm trying to see how I can bring movement as a tool to work with these ideas. So that's what I'm doing now with my work.
It's very interesting. And about Payatt INtransit that you've created, it's does that keep evolving as you keep evolving with your research, with how you're feeling with your body? The more you get to know about it, does Payatt INtransit? So please tell us a little about that. So
I guess it's definitely evolving. I think Payatt INtransit for me, it's me and Payatt INtransit. We always in a dialogue. You know? In the beginning, like I said, the word Payatt means it's coming from this martial art Kalaripayattu, and Payatt means it's action or activity or exercise. It can mean that, and I call it Payatt. That's in transit. In transit. That means it is in a space, in between space. That means it's always looking to go somewhere. So it is not in a static space. It's in transit, like an airport. You know, we're constantly looking for, okay, where can I go next? Where is my next turn? So that's the kind of the meaning of the technique. And so me, the fact I'm kind of had almost nomadic life for 8-9 years, like moving around, didn't have a place. So you are kind of, I was educating myself through this forum. If I had any questions or any understanding, I am going to, let's say, China or Thailand or South America or North America to teach, then I'm like, wow, I am interacting with humans. Of course, they have all these beliefs, but fundamentally, they all breathe. We all breathe. We all eat.
Yeah.
And we are connected to the same planet and we are connected to the same sun. So fundamentally, we are obviously we are same. So, but we are so attached to the belief system. So I'm trying to kind of bring those kind of thoughts into the room. Like you're sharing the space with whatever 50 people or 20 people, and so it's about using all the facets as a human being for training. So you're not just training on your body in the room, you're training with your breath, you're training in relationship with others, and you're also trying to see how your presence can transform the room, for example. And your psychological space, how can you control your mind? How can you bring your thoughts in? So it's a holistic training, and this training it's an ongoing investigation. So it is evolving as I am becoming older, and it is also making me evolve. So it's kind of like a dialogue.
Wow, that's amazing. Could anyone do Payatt INtransit, for example? Because I think a lot of times people feel scared. Oh, we're so old, or oh, I'm a woman, or oh, fat. How am I going to do this? You know, there's all these things that come.
I mean, it's a two different answers that I would like to give for this.
Yes.
One is that about talking about human. But I wake up every day. I just think the irony of how we wake up every day. You know, we wake up with the illusionary concept of monetary stability, right? Which is an illusion, which doesn't exist. But we all believe it's so strong, it's so real.
Yes.
right? It's like it's there everywhere, but actually it's a concept. It doesn't exist. But the civilization we born, we have believed that that it's about that. We need to get it. We need to get it to survive, or we need to become richer. And so then comes the power game, and so we are believing on concepts and illusionary concepts. And we wake up every day. Life is about something that is not real. So when you attach yourself to those kind of concepts, your whole system is going to behave that way. Talking about neuroscience, they say something called neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. It's about your brain is going to believe whatever you tell it to believe. And that's exactly why one is taking a gun and shooting the other person, because he believes money is so important.
Yes.
Although it's just a concept. Yes. So when we are born in that system, when we've been conditioned to believe this unwanted, of course now it's so prominent that we cannot say unwanted, but in a way it is basically this. Do we really need it, And so when our life is about these illusionary concepts, obviously you are somehow detached from actually what is real, which is this. You're there. Are you waking up every day and observing, how am I breathing today? Or am I acknowledging the presence of this sun out there, which is giving me energy? Or are you acknowledging the presence of your loved ones? And so I feel like the fact that our journey is always outwards is the concept. And if we can just divert a little bit more to actually fundamental of just being a human, and I feel that's where we are kind of stuck in a way. So Payatt INtransit is about that, just trying to work against that a little bit more, or to be much more conscious. Of course, we cannot cut these illusionary ideas, but maybe we can be much more aware with our behavior, much more conscious with our behavior. For that, we need to have a system of training which is helping you to be more stronger internally. You see what I mean to say?
Yes.
Like, those days, thousands of years ago, you could go to a forest and be quiet and, become a spiritually evolved person, because everything was peaceful around. Of course, you would get hunted by an animal, but if you know how to take care of it, you're okay. But now it's noise everywhere. It's a noise.
Yes.
You wake
Even
up in
if
the morning,
it's just social media, it's just you watch, you read, so
right?
It's noise.
Absolutely. And so, like, imagine this: we wake up, our bodies automatically reaches to that phone and brings it even before we realize it's happening. So we need to understand that how powerful the system has become.
Yes.
So now what's happening? Of course, people go to forest and ashram. You will feel great. You will be amazed there, but you're going to come back to the same chaos. Sure. So Payatt INtransit is trying to find a way to how we can create a system of training in the chaos. We cannot train the whole psychology of space anymore, because the space has changed. So we need to readapt the way we train, and the training has to be that you have to have a stronger root as a tree. If your root is fragile, you get torn apart. So it's about finding that stronger base. So it's
So since you're doing all this research about being human, and you're trying to understand all these things, at the end of the day, being human is also having very dark thoughts, having dark emotions, having very strange, difficult moments to yourself. So emotionally, as a human being, do you feel that affects your body sometimes, and how does it do it? And are you like very aware of it? For example, for me, sadness or anger, even excitement, like I feel it in my body. I think I'm a very physical person, also relating it with my emotions. What about that? Does that come sort of like, does it calm down, or sometimes you have moments of going into a very dark space, and how does that come with your movement or with your improvisations?
Because we work this in Payatt INtransit, actually these topics, I asked my friends and colleagues or people coming for the class, if we did not have this institution as called school, an academy, right? Where you invest a long period of your life, study about life through a book. You're reading and by hearting and talking about it. If we did not have it, I'm not saying we should not have it, but I'm just trying to give a different perspective. If we did not have it, how would you learn life? By living, right? So in Payatt INtransit, what we do is that we try to train to, we can say when somebody's stressed, oh, you're stressed, breathe, just relax. You can say it, but the one who's going through is suffering. You understand? And when the time comes, when it goes the other way around, you are going through what the other one was going through. So the Payatt INtransit is about training process where actually try to study what is studied in the book in a real life. So when you are going through a crisis, it could be a breakup, it could be a trauma or worry or anything, rather than reacting, rather than being impulsive and going through a depression, take a moment to observe what is it teaching you, what is the situation reveal about me. And okay, if I'm having a breakup of this person, and then you question like, okay, does this person can create such an impact in you? Is it that person creating? Is the concept of love? You lost the love, so I feel so sad. So how long do you need for you to come out of it? Do you need to go for therapy where somebody's going to tell you how to come out of it? Or do you need 1 year to come out of it? Or can you come out of it just tomorrow morning? You see? So it's about training that way it's like inner strength, So in Payatt INtransit, this is exactly what we do, like how to deal with this real life situation, to understand, to self-realize yourself, your boundaries. Okay, this is my emotional boundaries. This is my psychological boundary. This is my spiritual boundary, physical boundary. To realize it and then try to see if you can break this boundary.
That's lovely. And that makes a lot of sense. And I think I'm so glad that you're doing that, because I think nowadays we need these things even more. I think with, again, everything is becoming more restricted, because now even more with COVID-19, we're at home, how are we going to hug people? How are we going to, just sit together and be able to touch? How do you deal with vulnerability also in your real life? Are you able to just let it out? Are you able to, are you someone who also keeps things in? Because I want to know how that affects eventually practice.
Like I said, for me, there is two different space here. One is the performance space, so there the vulnerability is treated differently, and somehow it also kind of affects in my real life. I think like being vulnerable is a place where actually you're switching on. You're a place that you're not comfortable. So when you're in a place that you're not comfortable, you are going through something in you, and everything is seeking for a way out. So you're trying to find a way to survive through this vulnerability. I feel that's when one is moving internally. One is seeking for an exit, a solution. And I think, like, for example, in the Payatt INtransit context, like I said, body is a tool also to express, right? So I use the vulnerability actually to create a piece of art. I was broke. I remember until 28 years of my life, I was always broke. And then I was so sad. I was like, wow, it's really difficult. And especially when I'm traveling, I didn't have money, no place to sleep. So you sleep on the floor, you eat like a bread in the supermarket, and somehow you want to keep on going.
Yeah.
And then I decided to kind of make a piece that is about money. I want to make a piece about money. So I spent 2 months creating it. And I must say, my sense of understanding about money, it did shift a bit.
Wow.
So I feel like, and this is exactly, if you go to psychotherapy or psychiatrist, this is exactly they do. They try to find way to play with your crisis and how you can let the crisis go out. You see? And so one way that I do is use my body to perform, to let it out, or use a room to move and sweat it out. And it is possible. And it is possible. It's not just my theory. I'm talking from a scientific point of view. It is possible to transform a system.
Yes. I'm really interested in knowing more about this money piece, because I think it's something we all relate to so much right now. Youngsters, of course, but also just now in these times, people are losing jobs. I also think sometimes, what is life? We're just clowns, like dancing around money all the time, just wanting to somehow survive. I mean, we're going to die, all of us, and there's going to be, everything will stop. This money is not coming with us, and yet it's so important to just. It makes you so, stressed. It just. What did you do in this piece? How did you manage to? If you don't mind me asking, I know it's a bit personal.
No, absolutely.
But I think it would really be interesting. No.
Yeah. The piece it's called A Dream of Silence. And like I said, I was completely broke. And so then I was investigating during the residency. I was trying to see, okay, what is money for me? And I was trying to see, I cannot really recall things that I watched some research material about some writers. There was some thief in Russia who was stuck in the jail, and because of money, I cannot really remember now the materials that I used. So I was kind of looking into different literature material and stories and real life. And then also you see this never-ending cycle of bondage, with this money. Like you said, people do crazy things for it.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing we can transform is your relationship with it. Right? And it's going to be there, and somebody's next to you is going to make more money, and he's going to keep on mooring, and you're not going to change him. And but one thing what you could do, your relationship with money. Yes, money is a source that you need to buy something, eat something, wear something, and maybe help your friends or family or do some errands. Yes, for that it's necessary, but you need to really accumulate. And I guess it comes to a point when people are seeking for idea of happiness through this spending money, buying fancier car and more fancier car. If that is your surge of getting happiness, indeed you're going to run behind it because you need more, because you need to buy better. But if you can just be happy, wake up, you're just happy, I guess the need of money becomes much less. So you rather would spend time on actually, how am I feeling? How am I experiencing?
Yeah. That's very interesting. And of course, it's something we all can think about, but one has to hear things sometimes before you really, figure this out yourself. So what about your inner child? Do you ever let that come out
all the time?
Whether it's in humor or whether it's in letting out,
I think the first 5 years of our life was one of the most learning curve of our life. We learned so much from being on the floor, not able to stand up. We walk, we run, we speak, we understand. Such a big jump. And then everything started to slow down because of this boom. Okay, now you're ready. Here we go. We give you what you want to learn.
Study, work, this, family.
And having to have this perspective of curiosity. Okay, I want to understand things. I want to touch things, learn things, run, fall down. Oh, it does hurt. You're learning by doing, experiencing, and suddenly they put you in the room and they give everything out there, and you're sitting. Somehow I feel like they start to mold you, And I found like being like a child it's the sense of curiosity, being alive, being joyful, and
which you're full of. You're full of curiosity. Yes,
exactly. I guess we are all,
Yeah.
And then talking about now, you raised this question of how do you deal with this moment of vulnerability or depression or sadness. Look at a child; it's sad for 5 minutes. It is vulnerable for 5 minutes. And
they let it out.
They let it out. They don't keep it there. They say it out. They show it out. They cry. They scream. Okay, now what is next?
True. And it's as simple as that. As adults, we just feel like, no. I mean, there's my ego, there's my honor, whatever. There's all those things that come in between. I think you just don't let it out.
Yeah.
And I think
I had like all kinds of teachers in my life. There were teachers, they were like really strict and like, okay, no, you have to be like this. And I totally respect that kind of choice they make. And I also see teachers which is much more playful and joyful. They radiate joy all around them. And for me as a person, I realized this one of the most essential need for one to learn about ourselves is to being like a child. I think it's we might think it's very silly, but no, actually it's very important. And that playfulness, the curiosity, and even children, they forgive you fast. They don't keep grudge for many years.
Yes.
They're like, okay, you fight, I fight with you, I cry, okay, it's done, move on. No, the older we become, these things become like a monsters.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you or what have you discovered over the years about yourself?
For some reason, my growth from a childhood always about doing things that gives you joy and also learning, understanding. And wherever I felt it was not there, I always had this courage to break it, just to be honest with the feeling. Even to such an extreme, I remember when I was 11 years old, I rebelled with my family, 20 people, saying, I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't go to school anymore. It was also it was really a bad school that they didn't even have a playground, and you as a child you want to have a playground, and
of course,
it was such a claustrophobic space. And I stopped studying for 4 years. I said, okay, I don't study, and I was learning handicraft, like something else. And then at one point I realized, no, I need to educate myself. I need to be able to speak some language. I need to be able to write something. I need to be able to talk to people. And then I'm like, okay, now I need to study. So then I started studying. So even in dance itself, like I went through different trainings. At the moments when I feel like I'm not growing, I realized, no, I need to find a place where I have to grow. So that has been always the essence of what I'm doing. Now the fact my life is based in Belgium since 1.5 years. Before that in Switzerland for a bit. Before that, I was always on passing through the boundaries, physical boundaries. I'm talking about geographical boundaries. I've never been in one place. I'm here in Belgium teaching 1 week. Tomorrow morning, I'm in Paris on a kitchen floor, sleeping somewhere, some random people's house. They provide me couch to sleep, even make me breakfast. I teach them. So I started to interact with human beings. And also the kindness of human beings, and also the difficulties of human beings, and it really changed me as a person, and that's what I was saying. This my work and myself now. It's about really going to just being simple and basic as a human being. You have all this understanding and knowledge, but your sense is that I'm a human being who breathe, who speak, who move. I'm not attached to certain things that is there, and if something against it is wrong, no, I'm this, and I have all the capacities. I'm going to try to understand who I am.
Wow.
So it has been a great journey.
Great, that's amazing. For your quest or your search for truth, for movement, for understanding truth through movement, you think you've dedicated yourself to that, really?
Yeah. Well, look. When you say truth, it depends in what context we are speaking about truth. One is your truth against my truth is something else. Okay? And that person truth believes certain way, so that is true for them, and this person believes certain way, that's true for them. I don't want to say truth as that. But because that's just perspective and your belief system. But for me, when I say true, is that, like I said again, I might repeat myself, I know that there are some basic fundamental functions certain way, and they're meant to function certain way. And I know that I am inside my body. I am meant to be inside my body, not to live outside my body thinking about some concepts. So in fundamental level, I try to be as honest as possible. And of course, I have weaknesses. I have struggles. I have the depressions. I have moments where I'm not true anymore. All that is me. But I could learn from it. It could be my school.
And that is truth. No? With
Yeah, I hope so.
moments of not being true, or not being true, or moments of breaking down, and the imperfections are the truth at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
absolutely. I think, yeah, it's just like what you do with it,
What do you do with it? Yeah, but don't you feel sometimes people get too stuck in training, and they get too used to just getting information and not really doing more with that? Like, please just keep telling me, and I don't want to think on my own. You'll tell me to do this, and I'll do it.
I think you should have certain years of your life where you listen 100%, learn from a teacher with all the integrity, honesty, and dedication. You must have it.
Absolutely.
And you need to get the tools from teachers. That is necessary. When I say teachers could come from a life situation, from your home, from a school, from a dance class. This needs to be there. But there should be also a moment where you have to put all those learning to self-realize, to understand what does this mean. That you eventually should take the training with yourself. You should train yourself, because after a while, only you know who you are. I mean, of course, a teacher can tell you do this, do that, do this, do that. Yes, you can follow that for a long time, but maybe you would be doing something else. Maybe you would do things differently. So, and maybe you might able to contribute back when you do that kind of research, taking the time to kind of invest. Now, okay, let me try to teach myself also. See, so I think one has to have both. And for me, the way that my training is that I invested time training in people, different people. At one moment, I had a lot of training. I didn't know what does this mean. So then I was looking for a place to find myself with all these actions and movement that I do, and I'm slowly finding it. And this work that I'm doing, it's a consequence of that, and it is going through certain journey. And it arrives to a point I question myself, now where do I go with it? And then I seek for a teacher, and I look out for teachers, and teachers appear in different ways. It could be a book, it could be a documentary, it could be anything could teach you. Okay, now I got some more tools. Now I go back again, investigation. I think you should have both, I would say. But you need to be clear, why do you learn from somebody? And when you go and teach yourself, what are you actually looking for through this investigating yourself?
I really hope that all this curiosity, because it's very inspiring, and it really makes me want to do even more with what I do with my search in movement. And I really hope all this keeps going, keeps evolving. And thank you, really, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. It means a lot.
No, thank you for having me, and happen to have I'm kind of as excited. Of course, I'm interacting with Sahi. Suhai. Sorry, did I miss out now your name?
No, you say it so perfectly. I'm shocked, because it's a Sindhi name, and you say it just right.
Yeah. So, of course, you reached out to me as an artist, and I'm always willing to reach out to other artists and get to know each other. And also the fact that we somehow come from this very unique background together.
Yes.
Right? You come from Pakistan, I come from India. And considering all this craziness that goes on, and I feel like now what would the new generation could do? Maybe it's way to start talking to each other, and like you're busy with movement and body, human being. I'm busy with the same thing. And it doesn't matter where you are, where you come from, I come from, we think the same. We are in the same kind of journey in our own way. So maybe it's also time for us to start thinking the solutions can be found in different ways.